Ladies and gentlemen, we now move into the session 2, focused on global best practices, systems, processes, and SOPs used internationally to mitigate risk in adventure tourism. As adventure tourism evolves globally, safety is no longer viewed as an operational add-on. It has become the foundation of credibility, sustainability, and consumer trust. This session brings together some of the most respected international experts from the global adventure and outdoor ecosystem who have worked extensively across training, safety systems, expedition leadership, and destination development. And we are especially grateful that despite demanding schedules and international commitments, our speakers have made a special effort to join us today, both in person and virtually, for this important industry dialogue. To begin the session, it is my pleasure to invite someone representing one of the world's most respected organizations in diving and underwater adventure. Mr. Neil Davidson is the Territory Director at Professional Association of Diving Instructors, PADI, and brings extensive international experience in diving operations, outdoor safety systems, professional training, and business development across the Asia-Pacific region. Having served in leadership roles across Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste, he has worked closely with dive professionals, tourism stakeholders, and governments to strengthen safe and sustainable diving ecosystem. Neil has specially traveled to India to be a part of this seminar, and we deeply appreciate his effort and commitment towards supporting the Indian adventure tourism industry. Today, he will speak on guardianship of SOPs in the outdoors. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming Neil Davidson.
Clicking the slides. Put this on full screen if you don't mind. I'm so sorry. Just a second. Yeah. Full screen?
Okay, thank you very much. It's truly an honour to be here this morning representing PADI and to be able to speak to such a passionate audience of distinguished members of the adventure tourism. So it's truly an honour to be here invited. I truly thank you. So what I'm here to speak about this morning is how us at PADI, how do we control our risk and how we actively monitor it and work for it to try and reduce the risk around in the scuba diving industry. So to give you guys a quick introduction to PADI itself, we are called the Professional Association of Diving Instructors. When we were formed 60 years ago, as our 60th anniversary, the owners and the guys who created the company, they wanted to make sure they had the word professional within the title. The idea being we wanted to be the gold standard and industry leader from the very beginning, making sure that we always led by example, and then we also put safety as our number one, our top priority. So some figures and items just to give you a bit of a background of how global PADI is. So PADI is our 60th anniversary. We have been the industry leader since around about that time. Okay, we are active in 182 countries around the world. We have 6,600 PADI dive shops within them countries, with actually 80 being here in India. Okay, we have 150,000 active PADI members worldwide. So that's dive masters or instructors actively taking people diving every day throughout the year. Okay, and we certify around about 900,000 people every year. So you can see the scope and the size of the operation that we are working in here at PADI. So we get into it, okay? The reality of adventure risk. Part of my role as being a territory director is to help try and grow our industry. And obviously I can guess that most of you people here in the room today, you are passionate and want to grow your industry, whatever it may be, whatever sector of adventure tourism, whether it's rafting, it's parachuting, it's paragliding, it's scuba diving. You obviously got into that sector for a passion, and you want to share that passion. But we also have to make sure that if we aren't building a culture of safety and risk management within our sectors, we can easily damage our sport. So we need to identify that growing our industries obviously brings great opportunity as we bring more people into us, but also presents greater risk. Okay, risk is not a problem. Unmanaged risk is a problem. So you always have to think about from the very early stages to build a culture of how yourself, whether it be your personal self, how your members, how your instructors, how your guides, they also will all have safety as the #1 priority in their mind. Second part will be fun. Okay, we want people to have fun doing what we want to do. Okay, what makes our sports fun is a lot about the risk and the adventure, right? We take people up to the highest peaks, to the lowest depths. It's that edge and that risk that makes people wish to do it. They're not looking to do the usual regular sports and activities when on their travels. They want to do something a bit unique. So we need to make sure that we are managing this risk so if items happen, that we can learn from it and review it, and then hopefully don't make these items happen again. Now, this is a bit of a, I'm going to do a little case study here in the room. Can everybody please stand up? Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little about something called normalization of deviance. This is a very American term, okay, to talk about complacency. So now, I would like you to stay standing up if you own a motor car. If you don't own a motor car, you can sit down. Okay? Most people are still standing up. Good. Okay, when you're driving your motor car, please stay standing up if you wear your seatbelt. Okay, I'm not judging anybody if you sit down, don't worry. Okay, I'm not going to be taking names for the police. The fine is very high in India. Okay, I heard so, yeah. All right, just be honest with yourself, okay? So the next question, please stay standing up if when you're sat in the back of a car, maybe in an Uber or in a taxi, you still wear the seatbelt. Okay, we have good job to you guys. Right. Yeah, you can now sit down. That was just a little social study. What makes it more safe to sit in the front of a car than the back of a car? Is there any more safety in the back? No. Usually fine. Okay. But okay, yes, it usually is fine. The key word what you said there was usually, right? So what I was a little study of is how we just day to day in our normal life, taking a step back from whatever sport or sector you're in, you're doing something that's seemingly inconsequential, that's becoming the new normal, right? So every time you get into your car, you drive, you put your seatbelt on. You're in charge of the car. You go into the back seat, you're not in charge of the car, you're not wearing your safety device. Nothing bad happens. Nothing bad happened yesterday, nothing bad happened today. Maybe nothing bad happens tomorrow. But that one time when something bad happens, and you've made that conscious decision, the normalization of deviance, it has now created a bad habit, which is going to cause a serious incident. Everyone agree? And you can think about how whatever sector you're working in, there'll be something, I work in scuba diving, that could be that someone doesn't check the oxygen tanks, doesn't put them onto the boat, doesn't think to check the equipment, doesn't think to check their diver's air. Okay, there's something in every sector what you do that you can easily just cut the corner. As we talked about before, once people start to try and cut the costs, usually safety is the first thing that goes out. And it becomes just a industry norm. That's what we do. So at PADI, what we try to recommend, and I'll go into a little bit more on the instructional standards in a moment, we try to create a culture of best practices and conservative decisions. When you're taking people out, or taking people wherever you may be, you are the expert. The people who generally you are taking are not experts. They can be new people into that industry. Okay? They may not have the experience and the skills that you have, and we are dealing with real people. Yeah? We're not dealing with bits of machines and bits of kit, we're dealing with real people. So we need to make sure that we always do our industry best practices, and we also make conservative decisions. If you don't think it's good to go, you make the decision to cut. Yeah? So why does risk management fail? Okay, the first thing is inconsistent standards. That would mean that whatever the instructors that you have, they don't have a guideline, they don't have a book of how to follow, what to do and how to follow it. They just make up the rules as they want to, whatever suits them. So there's no consistency. Okay, there's limited oversight. there's maybe no body, whether that be a training agency such as PADI or maybe your local government. They don't have any system in place for them to be able to oversee and regulate that industry. Then there's weak incident reporting. Okay, we work and live in adventure travel. There's always going to be some incidents or some accidents happen. It's just, unfortunately, that is what happens, right? We are dealing with real people out in the wild. At certain times, there's going to be an incident or an accident. We have to be able to make sure that we can report that accident, have it reviewed, investigated, and we learn from it. And then as we come on to the last point, we need to make sure that you have feedback loops. The idea being, once something happens or there is an accident, we work on it, we investigate it, and then we speak back to the people to educate them, whether that be to the larger press, or whether it be to that shop or that centre or that area, to make sure that we don't damage the whole industry as a whole. So when an accident happens, it may not just be that one operator. For instance, in the Andaman Islands, if there's a scuba diving accident, that could really affect tourism all for them islands. It can really harm the whole sector. And that then just doesn't harm the diving operators, it harms their hotels, it harms the restaurants. And that whole little mini economy is damaged. And if we don't report it and learn from these mistakes, then we will never be able to improve. And then what we have at PADI, we have the 4 pillars of how we try to implement and reduce our risk. With standards, we have the PADI standards, which I'll talk about on the next slide a little bit more. Our training, which goes hand in hand with the PADI standards. We have monitoring from our quality management department. We have improvement, where we go actively feedback and engage with our members and engage with the divers to make sure that they're kept up to date on the industry best practices. So for PADI, okay, we have what we may call our holy book, the PADI Instructor Manual. Okay, this is the guideline that sets out how every PADI course should be conducted. And it creates consistency. The idea with it that if I may start taking my course back in England, where I'm from, I will do exactly the same course if I'm doing it in Pondicherry. The course is exactly the same. Then if I go and do my course in Egypt, the course will be exactly the same in Egypt. There is a global consistency to how everybody conducts that course. So it makes it a lot easier for us to monitor and evaluate because we have one rule book, and that goes across all countries. It's a very standardized approach. Where did we get this from? Okay, we did not sit around a table in America with a cup of coffee and make up these rules ourselves. These are derived from the International Organization of Standards. ISO created the framework for all scuba diving and risk safety, and then companies such as PADI and the other diving operators, they then create their own instructor manuals and their own versions of it. Again, this gives us external validation. There isn't just some people in a coffee shop or in a bar writing some rules down that can be followed. It's a global consistency made by industry experts, people who have spent time with case studies and many, many years of experience, and people from different sectors coming in, such as the medical sector, being able to come in and help advise us to create this framework that sets the limits and the regulations to ensure that when we take people diving, or again, if you put this into a different sport, when you take people up the mountain or you take people down the river, you've got many, many years of experience and guidance creating the rule book for you. So it helps takes a lot of stress off that one person who's in charge because he knows he's got years of experience behind him. On top of that then, what we do, so we have our guidance, we have our standards, we then have a very active quality management team. So we are the only scuba diving training agency in the world with an active quality management team. And we have 3. We have one in Europe, one in Asia, and one in America. What their role is not to be the PADI police, to go telling people off. These guys, when there's an accident or an incident, all our members are required by the PADI standards to write an incident report in to PADI. We want the information. We want to learn from it. There's a very big and famous case going on at the moment, I believe, in the Maldives, which I don't know all the facts, but it does sound very much where people have gone outside the limits. Sort of going back to what I mentioned before, the normalization of deviance. They were diving down to 60 meters. If anyone here is a scuba diver, knowing diving down to 60 meters on a normal air tank is probably not a good idea. So PADI will be in part of this investigation. We'll try to get as much information as possible. We want to learn from it. We don't want to sweep it away. It's obviously causing a lot of negative press about diving and it's going to harm Maldives tourism. But if we can get the facts and information as much as possible, the quality management team will then act on it, and they will go and then educate people. Okay, they're not there just to kick people out. They'll go try and educate the local industry, probably now educate the more wider press, because it is worldwide news. And they will handle this case with extreme care to try and make sure this accident doesn't happen again. Also, what we have on the screen here is my colleague. They're not just a stay-at-home department in our agency. They go around and do talks. So this is my colleague doing a talk in Kerala last year. So we actively engage and go out and meet divers and meet people on the ground to do talks like this, but in a larger format with lots of case studies. Again, trying to actively keep up the training and risk management and safety in the forefront of our divers' minds, so we can try and reduce as many cases as possible. One of the things that we also do is we like to recognize good practice. So we have people that are doing outstanding, have given an outstanding contribution in this risk management and safety. We like to recognize them. And this then helps build champions for ourselves. So people, we give them certificates, we highlight them on our social channels. It then creates this thing where I want to be like that person. Yeah, it gives someone to follow and for someone to try to obtain. We don't just try and push people out. We try to show people that doing the right way and being compliant and thinking with safety, that is a very good success for your business. Okay, now again, it comes back to this word that we mentioned at the beginning. We're trying to build a culture. We want the culture of safety. Yeah, and this is something that hopefully that will come into India, and you can take on that. We want safety to be at the forefront of everyone's mind. Think of a safety culture. Okay, so for my little takeaway points from my short presentation, there's some recommendations that myself and PADI would like to share, okay, with the audience today. And just again, you can always think about how you would introduce this. I work in a very niche market of scuba diving, but a lot of this framework can be placed across to your sector as well. So the first point would be to make standardized operations, having clear procedures and limits, making sure that everything is clear and standardized as much as possible, so everyone follows the same song sheet or hymn sheet. Okay? You invest in your guide or instructor, whatever you wish to call them. You invest in their quality. Okay? Make sure it's ongoing training and ongoing updates. Things change all the time. Yeah? New science becomes available, new technology becomes available, more information becomes available. So we need to make sure that once this comes into our hands, okay, we're able then to share that with your guides, your people on the ground, to make sure that they're trained up and got their most up-to-date knowledge. It's not just a one-off, you passed your course with me, so it's a tick in the box, off you go. We make sure that we're always keeping them updated. Okay, very, very important one is to build and encourage a reporting culture. I think, as we sort of mentioned on the last presentation or last talk, we need to make sure we are getting this information. Yeah, I know when something happens, we really don't want to talk about it, we don't want to look at it, we don't want to investigate it, but we can only learn and grow and improve ourselves if we do make reporting from accidents or incidents or near misses. A near miss is just as important as an incident. Okay, just because someone didn't get hit by that boat or something didn't injure that person, it was near, right? So we need to make sure we report it, and that goes back to the next point of creating the feedback loop. That we have a team and system in place to review data, review incidents, we learn from it, and then we go back to updating our instructors, and we share everything that we possibly can. So we're growing together as an industry. And again, recognize good practices. It reinforces good behavior, okay? And that helps improve safety. If we can create some champions in your sectors, put them on the pedestal, show that being safety conscious, safety minded is good for your business, is good for your industry, it will help push people towards that direction as well. Okay, at the end of the day, adventure sports will always involve risk. Yeah? But with the right systems, the right mindset, and the right culture, We can manage that risk in a sustainable, professional, safe manner. Okay, that is the end of my talk. I thank you very much for listening. Okay, does anybody have any questions? No. Yes, sir?
Can you highlight a recent incident which happened in Maldives? What happened with those 5 researchers?
Yeah, okay. I do not have all the facts. Okay, from what I believe, there's a group of 5 to 6 divers. One of them is an archaeologist, and they've dived down to a very deep depth of around about 60 meters, trying to enter a cave system. For someone who I'm an experienced diver, I've been diving for 15 years, done quite a few thousands of dives. The recreational limit I'm allowed to go to is 40 meters. Okay, and once you start to go deeper down, as soon as you get to 40 meters, your time at that depth is very, very short. 2 main factors being how much nitrogen your body absorbs, but also because you're so deep, every breath you take empties the tank a lot faster. So again, I can't comment or speculate exactly what's happened, but if they're diving down to 60 meters on a recreational dive, they've gone to that system's normalization of deviance. They've done something. I've done a dive plan that is, in my mind, I would never do that. You need to be a highly trained diver on technical diving where you would take multiple tanks, probably have safety divers and have a whole plan around it to pull off a dive like this. To be going down to such a deep depth with lacking safety equipment, lacking the proper training, lacking the oversight, it was a recipe for disaster. Yes, sir.
I just wanted some statistics that over the 60 years, how many people have died or near misses in diving internationally, and has that number coming down over the years? And is it some percentage based on lapses, or some percentage based on natural circumstances which happen? Something on that.
Okay, good question. So I don't have exact statistics to share with you right now, but I do know from speaking to our quality management team that actually at the moment, fatalities underwater are slowly increasing. Now, that is not, this is a double-edged sword. So diving, PADI has been done for 60 years. People now who have learned to dive when they were 30, 40 years old are now older, to put it mildly, okay? So it's generally, the increase in fatalities is slowly increasing, but that is generally to do with health conditions of elder and aging divers. Not that is an increase in general accidents, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think safety is, as the market grows, we spent my first point, so as we all grow, more people come into diving especially, incidents will increase at an equal rate. There's never we don't see any spikes as such, only that at the moment the fatalities slowly increases, maybe due to elder age divers taking their dives, taking their last breaths underwater.
Sorry, one more question. That if you look at the number of people, if 100 people are diving, how many are diving who are PADI certified, and how many are outside of the system who are also diving? That number must be increasing, which is unregulated to some extent.
Yeah, again, this is one of the pain points of, I suppose, a lot of people's industry. So at PADI, we have around about 75% of the market share so far. Of every 100 divers that get certified in the world, 75 of them would be a PADI diver. Now, one thing we see, especially in India, and other countries, I'm based in Indonesia, I've been based in Malaysia, we see this similar, is we have a lot of unauthorized or unregulated operators, and they do what we call tri-dives, where instead of taking the time and training these people properly, doing the 2 to 3, 4 day course where they do their e-learning, they do the shallow pool work, and then they do 4 open water dives, completing all the skills. They see the quick book option of these operators where they'll take mass people on a tri-dive, which is unregulated, not the greatest safety. That is a real issue that we see around. Yeah. Cool. Cool. I thank you very much for listening. Please take my call. It's gone off the screen. You please come and see me if you wish to get my contact details or you wish to talk to me. I'm very happy to be here. Again, thank you very much for listening to my speech.
Thank you, Neil, for such an insightful and practical session. One very important takeaway from your presentation is that SOPs are not merely documents created for compliance. They are living systems that protect lives, build consistency, and strengthen professional culture. And perhaps most importantly, safety systems are only effective when they are consistently practiced on the ground.